Again, one should not listen to the Dharma with the faults of the 3 pots. One should not listen to Dharma with a low motivation. The 3 faulty pots are the pot that is facing down, the pot that is facing up that has contamination or is filthy, and the pot that is with leaks. Listening to the Dharma with the pot facing down is like someone who comes with a closed mind. Therefore, when the pot is down, even if it's raining hard, no water can be collected inside. The second type of faulty pot is one that is facing up and open, yet is contaminated. So if you were to put the cleanest and the best of items in that pot to eat or whatever, it would be contaminated, although the pot is there, although the item is good. In this example, it is coming to the Dharma with wrong motivation. In order to listen to the Dharma to pass time. In order to listen to the Dharma because you're bored. In order to listen to the Dharma to find methods to get wealthy, to get young, to get beautiful, to just have simply a good life. That is to listen to the Dharma with a faulty pot, or with a pot that is contaminated motivation. Then the third one is the pot that has leaks and cracks. Whatever you listen to the Dharma, you agree upon, you like, you think it's excellent, you think it's wonderful, yet one does not practice. It goes in 1 year and it leaves out the other. So one should not listen to the Dharma with the 3, as an example, 3 faulty pots. Then one should not listen to Dharma with a low motivation, that one may get a good life, one may get a healthy life, one may get money, one may get, a deity that will help us have long life, health, excellence, money, wealth, that we may get some practices, that we may get a good future life. We should not be listening to the Dharma or practicing Dharma with such lowly motivations. When we have such a precious jewel, when we have such an excellent jewel, we have such a method, we should aim for the highest and not for the middling or the lowest scope. That would be that all sentient beings, inclusive of oneself, is not different from oneself, that everyone wants happiness. Everyone is no different, and in fact, they want happiness. Everyone completely looks for happiness. Even the tiniest ant or the tiniest insects are looking for happiness. Not anyone ever wants one moment of suffering, one moment of happiness. On that basis, others and myself, there is no difference. Others and myself, there is completely no difference, that they want happiness and I want happiness. If they want happiness, there are more of them and there's only one of me. How can I, as a logical person, forsake other people and think about only myself? How can I practice Dharma for the sake of only myself, not thinking about other people? That is completely illogical. I will in fact practice Dharma for the sake of all other sentient beings who are suffering and who have not met Dharma, who do not know about Dharma, who has not heard about Dharma, who has no idea about Dharma, and therefore are ignorant of the true method to gain happiness and the true method to cessate unhappiness. So I will listen to the Dharma, and therefore by gaining knowledge of the Dharma and gaining experience of the Dharma, I shall put it into practice, into my daily life, in order that I may gain the fully enlightened state of a conqueror Buddha, like Lord Shakyamuni. Therefore, not to rest in enlightenment, but to come back again into this world, again and again and again and again, until all suffering ceases, until the last sentient being is released. For this reason, I will become a fully enlightened Buddha. Therefore, I shall listen to the holy teachings of the Dharma. If the motivation is such, then even traveling here in your car, going through the traffic jams, sacrificing what you usually do, sitting here in a posture that is uncomfortable to your body, thinking and focusing becomes an act of merit, becomes an act of Dharma. If the motivation is low, if the motivation is to gain higher rebirths only, in order to get more health, to get more wealth, in order to get more beauty and position and power, in order to gain friends and influences, or as a social activity, to go to the Dharma center to meet other friends, if the motivation is that, then it becomes not a Dharma practice. It becomes a worldly practice. Then the actions that you do becomes a worldly action. Therefore, not accruing the merits or karma for oneself to become a fully enlightened being. It is not the actions that you do that determine whether it is Dharma or not. It is the motivation behind the action. It is the motivation. Lord Buddha, in one of his previous lifetimes in the Jataka tales, was on a ship traveling with 500 merchants. Lord Buddha was the captain of the ship, in charge, responsible for the crew. Although he was not a Buddha, he was a highly realized bodhisattva. Being a highly realized bodhisattva, he had very powerful clairvoyance that can read the minds of others. While he was traveling on the ship crossing, he realized that one of the members on board had the intention of killing the other members and robbing them of all their possessions. Buddha, out of great compassion, out of meditation, out of great compassion, in order that the 498 members are not to be killed, in order for that person, the killer, or the one that intends to kill, not to gain such negative karma and to go to one of the lower realms for millenniums. Buddha generated great compassion, and Buddha himself had no choice but to kill that person. Buddha killing that person became an act of merit, became an act of dharma, became a very powerful act to propel him toward enlightenment. Because the motivation was completely pure, the object was correct, and also, the intention, faultless. Therefore, even actions that seemingly seem negative, if done on the basis of bodhicitta or compassion, will gain good results. Whereas actions that seemingly seem like dharma, if you go to a dharma center, if you meditate, if you pray, if you do your mantras, if you make offerings, if you buy statues, if you do charity, you help the poor. If you do these actions, but the intention or the motivation is to look good in front of your friends, to gain position and power, to move up in life, to impress, or to gain a higher rebirth, or to gain wealth, then that action in itself is not dharma. That action has become stained, and it becomes a worldly action. Therefore, it does not equate dharma. So when one goes to the Dharma center, one has taken refuge, one has a nice altar, and one makes offerings and does mantras and prayers, it does not make one a Dharma practitioner. It does not make one. One knows when one is a Dharma practitioner when all of that is done without the 8 worldly concerns. Any Dharma action, in order for it to qualify it to become a Dharma action, must be free of the 8 concerns, the 8 worldly dharmas. The concern to encounter pleasure, the concern to encounter material gain, the concern to encounter praise and fine reputation, the concern to avoid pain, avoid material loss, avoid blame and poor reputation. If you do dharma with the motivation of gaining pleasure, material gain, praise and fine reputation, to avoid pain, material loss, blame and poor reputation, then you are not doing correct dharma. Although you can be sitting in a cave, reciting millions and millions of mantras and doing millions and millions of meditations, if any of your dharma practices, any of it is done with any of those 8 worldly concerns, you are not a dharma practitioner, and you may practice dharma for 7, 8, 9, 10 years. You can practice it for 20 or 30 years, and if you check yourself carefully and deeply, not one single grain of improvement can you find. Not even one single grain can you find. In fact, your mind becomes lower, becomes more attached, becomes more angry, becomes more, negative, and in fact, you will start using dharma as an excuse to cover up for your inequities, or your mistakes, or your pride, your ego. If you are practicing dharma without those 8 worldly concerns, then yearly you should see an improvement in your mind. You should definitely see an improvement in your mind. You should definitely see an improvement in your worldly situations. If your worldly situations are decreasing and your years in the Dharma is increasing, in general, it is a very bad sign. It is a sign that you have not been practicing the Dharma sincerely and well. If you find that your mind yearly becomes more and more agitated, more and more angry, more and more hateful, more and more spiteful, more and more vengeful, if it becomes more of any of those delusions, you have been doing your Dharma practice wrong. It is not that the Dharma is wrong. It is not that the Buddha is wrong. It is not that the practice is wrong. It is the way that you're doing it. If you have a wonderful car and you cannot drive it, and you have an accident, you cannot blame the dealer, you cannot blame the maker, you cannot blame the car. Only yourself. Like that, Dharma is excellent. Dharma is pure, unstained, unsullied. But one must know how to practice Dharma. And before any type of practice of Dharma, one should definitely, intimately internalize, get to know, understand what is to be avoided and what is not. And that is to practice Dharma with any of the 8 worldly concerns. Any of the 8 worldly concerns. If it is done with that, you will not gain results. Definitely cannot gain results.